Hello, and welcome to our continuing reflections on Psalm 8, coming from the Manse. Let me begin by reading the first two verses of the psalm. O Yahweh our Lord, how glorious is your name in all the earth. Your majesty is praised high as the heavens. That's the verse we looked at yesterday. And then it goes on. Out of the mouths of infants and babes you have rebuked the mighty, silencing enmity and vengeance to teach your foes a lesson. Do you ever feel unimportant, that you don't have a lot of influence, that your opinion doesn't really matter, that you're not that highly regarded, and in some ways you don't matter? Well, if you ever feel like that, this message is for you. The context here is ancient Israel. We've moved from the psalmist in verse 1 looking at the heavens and worshipping God, and then he brings his eyes down, his gaze down to what's going on around him. Israel surrounded by all its enemies. And Israel lived amongst the empires for centuries, a very small nation surrounded by the great powers, the superpowers who made history and who made the day, who were the important players at the time. Israel was almost insignificant. And yet here's the paradox. I've just read a part of the Hebrew scriptures. Not the scriptures or the documents from ancient Babylon or the Egyptians or the Persians or any of the great mighty nations and empires of that time, but the Jewish scriptures. Now, to these empires, the notion that God was at work in little old Israel would have been laughable. And yet it's Israel that survived. It's the Jewish faith that has survived. And it's the Jewish scriptures we in the church have inherited. Likewise, in the New Testament, think of these words. Paul writes to the church at Corinth, Brothers, think of what you were when you were called. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many were influential. Not many of noble birth. But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. He chose the weak things to shame the strong. He chose the lowly things of this world and the despised things, the things that are not, to nullify the things that are, so that no one may boast before him. Like ancient Israel, the early church began full of people who were not important in the Roman Empire. And again, like the ancient civilizations before them, the Romans laughed at the thought that the God of the universe could possibly be working through the people they saw as the Christians. Because after all, was it not Rome who had all the power and influence? But it was the church that survived and outlived even the Roman Empire. Now, unfortunately, down throughout the centuries, power itself has corrupted the church. And although we live in a day and an age where there's an ebb tide, perhaps that's no bad thing. It means we have to get back to our roots and remember who we are, a humble people of God. And if that is the case, then it's not so much who we are that matters. Our status is in God, and He has chosen us. He chose ancient Israel amongst all the nations. He has chosen the church, made up of ordinary people, to be His witness in this world. And that means we matter. Now, if you watch the news, you would think that what matters going into this 21st century, the big battle is going to be between the United States and China for world domination. And maybe it is. But God is not working in the superpowers. He never has been throughout history. He's worked amongst the ordinary people, the down-to-earth people. He's given them their vision. And that means you and me have a role to play. So the church needs you. We need your prayers. We need your support. We need your involvement in the time that lies ahead. And you may think, well, I'm just an ordinary person. Yeah, well, that's what God loves about you. He works in and through the ordinary people. We may be children and babes when it comes to the elite, the powerful, the rich. But we're God's people, and we've got a purpose to pursue. God has a plan for us. And as he brings us through this pandemic into an uncertain future, we can be sure of one thing. He knows us and he loves us. He looks on us as his family and his people. And he will draw us together and work in us and through us in the days ahead. Well, that is, if we're open to that. So whoever you are, remember you are a child of God. You matter, your voice matters, your presence matters, and what you do for him in small ways matters. May the God who brought Israel into existence, may the God who brought the church into existence, guide us through these strange and weird days and bring us out the other side, strong and renewed. Thank you for listening. God be with you.